Okay, so cool. So I would like to make this session more interactive and illustrative. Uh, Interactive because we would want to use the brain power of everyone present in this call, and by the end of this call, we expect to have a little more deep understanding on what is MVP versus what is MMP. Illustrative because examples helps us to catch the concept better and makes our approach of implementation easier. So please expect this session to be like more interactive, and we should be sharing some examples, everyone, by what our understanding is and how we can implement it further. So the first question which comes to my mind, let's leave the MMP part as of now. Let's do a roundtable and let's understand from everyone what is the definition of MVP that we carry in our head individually. So let's do a roundtable quickly, and then we will converge to a same thought in terms of definition. So if I see on the Zoom video, I will go in sequence. I am seeing Dinesh first. So Dinesh, can you go and talk about what is the definition of MVP which you carry in your head?
Okay, so for MVP, my definition says that it is a basic set of features uh, where generally we validated our learnings by through some particular customers. Maybe it's one or two customers, or maybe it can be any customer, so that we can receive the feedback, and then we can start uh, incrementally doing or incrementally designing the better product actually. So this is what I am aware of MVP.
Right. Thank you. Sanjay.
Okay, for me, I think MVP is something which is the bare minimum, which is but still valuable to our stakeholder or the customer, and it is used just to validate our assumptions.
Right.
But it should be valuable. We don't want to do something which is just a scrap thing, right? It should be. That's what my thought is. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. Pranchu.
So my understanding also is around the same, similar thing that Dinesh suggested. So minimum viable, when we say, that means whatever we gathered in the form of, you can say, business requirements, how how much we really are going to implement. So minimum of that which user can provide some feedback on. It may not be right away, could be sold, so it's not marketable, but yeah, you can have some feedback. I can cite one example of that from my personal experience. A while back, we were supposed to build a product around something. There was so many things, but the main thing that we identify is you can say the minimum viable thing was the client needed one algorithm which could generate a random number of 10 digits, and the input were some different numbers. There were some dates, there were some IDs of their users, and there were some other things, their data, part of their data birth, and they wanted to get the digits from there, some digits, and generate a unique number, random number, which would be associated with that particular end user. And that was, I mean, we just generated that algorithm and got the feedback that, okay, does it satisfy their need? And then we built, the UI and the backend, and integrating different things around that. So I know it's a little more complex, not exactly, may not be, everyone might not be able to be added, but I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, thank you. Monica.
Yeah, Sachin, for me, like MVP is the initial version of a product that has enough features to be usable and deliver value to our customers. I have the same understanding as Sanjay sir said. Something valuable should be delivered at the earlier customers.
Okay, so we all briefly touched upon value. We all briefly touched upon um, knocking down some uh, uh, um, assumptions we have. We talked about minimum set of features. We talked about working product. So converging everything here, some of the thoughts are pretty much, um, close to the real definition of MVP. So primarily, if we talk about MVP, uh, it is an approach which is being used for breaking down our assumptions or validating our hypothesis. It is not something which is a which has to be a working software, right? The primary difference between MVP and MMP is the approach through which these two terminologies are being considered. We use MVP to validate our hypothesis, which we have in terms of building a product. For example, if I have to create a self-service tool, and I have to see the viability that if I invest some money, if I invest some resources to build that self-service tool, how it's going to work in the market, right? So before investing our key resources here, we would like to prove this hypothesis that this is something which is going to work by adopting an MVP approach. If I talk about MMP, it is called which we can ship to production to have
Sorry,
an
Sachin.
early to market approach. So, yeah, go ahead, Sanjay.
No, I think you were breaking, or is it just for me?
Yeah,
No,
voice is
yeah,
breaking.
you are breaking,
Yeah.
Sachin.
If you can
Maybe
start with
let's
MMP once again, yeah.
maybe the last 15 second. Last 15
Uh,
second would be.
So MMP primarily is a minimum marketable product. As the name signifies, it is a bare minimum set of features which we can send to production for end users to consume, so that we have an early to market approach. So primary difference between MMP and MMP lies in the approach which they serve in the software development. MVP is an approach for doing the risk validation. MMP is an approach which we do for following early to market product strategy, right? And one major confusion which we carry in our mind is MVP is something which has to be a working software. That's not true, right? I would give you an example of Amazon Echo. We all use Amazon Echo, and primarily what it does is it serves the user need in terms of their questions via a voice command. So before building this product, what Amazon did, they did an MVP using an approach where some pilot users would ask a specific query, and the people behind the curtain, they would respond back by searching for that specific query and preparing that answer. So by doing this, what they had an hypothesis that voice-based interactive mechanism would work, and this product would be a good hit in terms of resolving some queries, making sure that all the daily needs are addressed, like switch on the lights, blah blah blah. So all those voice commands, instead of building it the full-fledged product, they use an approach so that they can do the minimum investment. With that minimum investment, they can prove their hypothesis about the product or the feature they are building. So till now, any questions? Like any questions?
Yeah, Pranshu, go ahead.
Anshu?
Okay. Just one real thing. Actually, this again comes from my personal, you can say, experience. The doubt that sometimes happens in my head, where the prototyping sits in when we say prototype. So is it the same thing as MVP, or prototype is something in between MVP and MMP, or just I
Great
want your
question.
thoughts.
Great question. I would like to share my screen, and I'm not able to. If
Give
there
me a
is.
second. Yeah, give me a second. I think this may be something at my end. I should be able to. Yep. And you took a great example, Sachin. Now you should be able to share your screen. And just to add into it, so it's not, and there are so many other products who have also used the same approach. For those who knows about Japos, right? The shoe company,
Shoe company,
right?
yeah.
Right. It looks like that we the way when they started, people used to place an order, and the Japo founders actually used to go to the shoe store and buy the shoe and then deliver to the customer. Nothing, just the order placement was online. The rest everything was still manual. Is it working, Sachin, now?
Yeah, it is asking for some security and privacy setting. I'm just looking into it. Just give me a second.
Not a
And
problem. Take it.
meanwhile, we can do another roundtable and just have a reflection on, do we need to do MVP for products only, or they exist for doing some validation around our hypothesis in the market? Because product work in markets, product will have a specific market. So just
Again, Sachin's voice is breaking. Is it at my end or?
No, it's breaking for me also.
Breaking. Maybe if you can
is it
turn
okay
off your
now?
video. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yep. So sorry, you were saying something, Sachin.
Okay. Do we have MVP to validate our hypothesis in products, or do we also have MVPs to validate our hypothesis for the markets in which product functions, in which product is being sold or is being used?
So sorry, come again. I think what is the difference?
So
I'm not sure.
I think we all have primarily talked about minimum viable product as an approach to be used in terms of product development, right? Do we also use the MVP approach to test some of our hypotheses in the market in which product is being sold or is being used?
Oh, okay. Right. I think it is. The way I look at it is, if you look at all these big giants, right? Be it an Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, they always keep doing some experiment on us, right? They keep validating their hypothesis on us without telling us.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have MVP test both for product as well as market in which the product functions. Yeah.
So just one read out. So Sanjay or Sachin, what we are saying is that some kind of product already exists in a particular market with a set of, you can say, target customers, and now some kind of feasibility check is being done to check further new feature addition in that product or something.
Yep. Maybe new feature, maybe
That-
new services as a part of that product. right? Or maybe earlier it was for
Okay.
the teenage kids. Now they would like to do it for the old age people, right? Maybe changing the customer segment, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it means like, let's suppose if a company already have a product in the market, right? And they started to develop a new feature of that particular product. So we should also validate the market as per the new feature so that we can understand the customers. Am I right?
That's my thinking. Sachin, what do you think?
Yeah. So I think,
Okay.
let me first of
Yeah,
all
then it
explain-
should be necessary, because if you will not validate the market, you will not understand what exactly customers needs, then no use of MVP.
so the purpose which MVP serves is to get the nerve of
Yeah,
the
now the customers.
product and the market. When I talk about market, it is customers,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So I hope you can see my screen now.
yeah, we can.
And this little 2x2, you know, like 4 quadrants explains the whole concept of MVP. We'll talk about MMP later, because this is something which will clarify what MVP means in terms of product market. So when we do MVP, we are going to have some outcome, either qualitative or quantitative. So first, I will talk about the bottom 2 quadrants here, because they are talking about product. And in terms of product, what all MVPs I can try to have the qualitative outcome. In terms of product, what all I can try to prove my hypothesis and gather quantitative data. So Pranju, your question around prototype will be answered here now, right? When I talk about product, for example, I am trying to build some enhancement into an existing product, right? What I can do is, instead of building them, full-fledgedly, I would create high-level wireframes and mockups for products which have complex interactions, complex user interactions. These wireframes and mockups will help to get the feedback, early feedback about the product from the customers, how the new enhancement or feature would work in terms of user interaction. And if they want to propose any change, they can do that. So this is one of the lean approach to gather your feedback and eliminate waste at the very beginning, or before even investing even $1 when you start your software development. Similarly, your question, Pranshu, interactive prototype. There could be a need where wireframes mockups would not do that much of an help. We can make use of some working prototype, which can be validated with the customers. When I say customer, it means market. And that prototype with minimum investment would give us the necessary feedback whether to pivot or to preserve with the strategy we have made. So again, our hypothesis is being validated about product, and we are getting qualitative feedback by developing these kind of MVPs at the early phase. Now let's talk about Wizard of Oz, and it's also called concierge. It is something which is the example which I have taken around Amazon Echo. They What they have done is they have simulated the same kind of environment where user would ask a query, they would process it at the backend, but it is not being used by the full-fledged product as Amazon Echo being used. It is some users, some analysts behind the curtain giving answers to those voice-based commands to determine whether it's going to be successful, and they are getting qualitative feedback. That is how they also evolve their dictionary of command by doing this MVP. Live product. Now let's say, for example, the complexity of the product in terms of interaction, in terms of domain, in terms of business logic is such that we cannot validate our hypothesis. It could be a live product, bare minimum live product, which can be used to get the qualitative feedback and validate our hypothesis. None of this example, take a note of this fact, please. None of this example is an early to market. It's not even a working software. It could be, but depending upon the nature of the product we are dealing with. Similarly, let's say, for example, in terms of product, we want to get some quantitative data and get our hypothesis validated by doing two other MVPs. One is called fake door. Fake door means, for example, you want to see that a specific functionality would work, like how many of user base, how much of our user base interested in a specific functionality. So for example, what I'll do is I'll create a fake 404 page. I will just create a link to that page and post it in some sort of newsletter notification. And I would see, for example, if I have 10,000 user base, how many of them are actually curious to click on that link? It gives me number of people who would be interested to use that feature, right? So again, we are getting some feedback around how many people. It is not a qualitative feedback, rather it is a quantitative feedback. Similarly, if you have heard of like some data around analytics, we have had some link created and some bare minimum functionality, how user navigates through that page. It gives us a more informed more information about the navigation, how user would want to navigate, and A/B test two version of the product being run with pilot set of users. What specific product, what specific version would get maximum clicks, would give us that result. So these are all information which help us to do it, or which helps us to make a decision which is informed more informed about the real ground where product is being used by actual customers, right? Now, so before I move on, how much time we have, guys? I'm not sure, like if it is half an hour call or 1 hour call.
We still have maybe 20 minutes.
Okay, so I should be able to wrap it up. Now let's take example of marketing. Like we are doing or making some informed decision on the product. There are some great examples in terms of doing MVPs on market. Now it's not product. It is not something which is working, blah, blah, blah. No, it is just knowing about the market. So qualitative test. The example is marketing material. It is a kind of an MVP, which gives us information about the user group, the campaigns, etc., how to run those campaigns. So we will create an initial marketing material for our users. We will have an interaction with some pilot users. They will give us feedback. So before launching this product into this specific market, this is all we should have. The campaign should be done in this way, blah, blah, blah. Similarly, quantitative test. In order to get our understanding better in terms of existing market, there could be a lot of examples we can choose from: ad campaigns, A/B test, crowdfunding. How many of us know about crowdfunding? Okay, so crowdfunding is going to a market, and when you are going to launch a specific product into that market, you would create a level of awareness amongst your users who could be the adopters of that product. And if they like it, they would fund you early. And in case you have a specific, sum at your hand, then only that your market already exists. and you all have features that you have already introduced to your users, and by doing this, you will have a good sense of the market, and they are ready to fund you. So it's not like actual funding, it is more like I would buy this feature for this. So it is more like the interest the user will show in terms of like what specific feature like most, and you would have a sense of that market, whether that market is apt for you or not. So all of this MVP, it is a lean product thinking. It is an approach to implement lean processes while you are building a product to serve the needs. So this is MVP. Now let's come to MMP, and then we'll take questions and answers, and then we'll help each other to understand better. So MMP is minimum marketable product. The name itself signifies it is a working product, and it penetrates the system from left to right, like covering all the functionalities, but it is bare minimum functionality which we can deploy as early as we can. So it is an early to market strategy. It is not related to something which gives us the information to validate our hypothesis. It is just a set of bare minimum set of features which we can deploy to production for our users to consume. So it is basically an early to market strategy, whereas MVP is primarily more of a risk reduction strategy. So I mean, that's all I could think of, and looking at the questions and the interaction we have had. There is a lot of other information which we can brainstorm on and share with each other. But looking at the content we have covered, and primarily from the experience that we carry and the examples we have in our mind, any questions which comes to your mind which is like making you uncomfortable still?
Okay, I would again take the opportunity quickly. First of all, Sachin, it was great. In fact, it kind of revalidated my, you can say, learning so far about prototyping. But just want to add, maybe it's just in, say, my team, I would say, or maybe it's a general thing or a malpractice, we can say. But usually what I've seen is when we think about MVP and try to develop a prototype to get early feedback, we usually just exclude you can say the UX part, that okay, let's not be much worried about how it's going to look and feel. But essentially we develop the whole working, try to develop at least the whole working software. So I hope that's not the right practice, right?
In the software world, what I have seen, Pranshu, the ideal copybook style sometimes is, most of the time, is difficult to follow. But if we have the capability or the flexibility, I would say, to at least use some constructs within that whole thinking or framework, those small constructs will help. I'll share an example. On the same line which you were talking about, we also had same sort of practice where the interactions, button looking small or big, would make any difference. For us, it is just one small change, but the information which it will give us by making a button smaller or bigger or changing the font has a greater impact on the usage or a usability of the. So if we create that sort of cognizance in our developers, engineers community, then uh, adoption would be more easy. And
I yeah,
yeah, I mean, just one more sentence and then
sure,
so
sure, sure.
what I have seen is, working at McKinsey, we have been using this practice in a very dilute manner. But when the analytics numbers were published at a regular periodic interval, we could easily identify that by making some small tweaks, how the click-through rate has increased. So that gave us a space, especially the designers, to do customer discovery at an early phase. And when I talk about customer discovery, it is the same thing.
Yep.
Using different kind of MVPs, interacting with customers, getting their qualitative and quantitative feedback around design. So this MVP, it is not just for the functionality of the product. It is also for look and feel. Because
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I
yeah,
got your one.
because
In
if
fact, in the
we,
last, yeah, in fact, in the last statement, that's where the answer lies. Just want to add on that somewhere we should have, we should like draw a line, because I totally understand from, you can say, engineering perspective, from developers perspective, it might not have that much impact, that particular you can say UX, but for the end customer, again, depending on the context, depending on the product, it might have a huge value. But there should be a line that if our MVP is taking so much time or cost, right, in even getting to the end customer and get that feedback, I know there is a term also for that, right, in the industry. So there should be something around that, right? Or at least, as you said, there should be, you can say, kind of retrospect around that. Okay, the last time MVP took this much cost and time, so it's not, we cannot call it essentially an MVP,
hmm,
right?
yeah. So as we start working on defining the approach, right? It is a subject which should be discussed, how far we would want to travel in terms of building an MVP. Is it something that we are crossing line and marching towards creating an MMP and then getting that feedback? Or is it something that with a bare minimum investment, how many of our doubts we can clear? It is all about making informed decisions, right? That's why it is lean, right? It is not about lingering that waste on and on for some time and then getting the feedback. It's a dangerous proposition. It is just a fair, open discussion on what is that. Because okay, uh, I can share one example. I will take the example of astronauts, right? So astronauts, you know, they were traveling to antariksh. Antariksh ko kya hota hai? Space. They were traveling to space, and there was one thing, they could not write because there is no gravity, so they would not be able to write with sort of pen. So one kind of development started happening in US, uh, and they invested around so much of million of dollars to create a pen which astronauts can use to take notes, right? Think about an MVP. Pencil.
Yeah,
Pencil.
I got it. Yeah.
Pencil could do that work, right? So
Mm.
they would not have to invest so much of money. So it's about cognizance of your business and diversification of your thoughts, which will help to define that boundary. Because if we are investing too much in MVP and then there is a pivot, then it's good to have that investment, but we would want to be cognizant of that fact that creating a balance on how much we want to create and what kind of feedback we can create. So that's all depends upon very open collaboration with all the stakeholders that with whom we are working.
Yep. Got.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Sachin.
That's true. And if you look at it, the way I think is, I don't know whether it's in all this agile community or maybe the big consulting companies, right? But if you go maybe 15 years back, the only concept available was the MVP, right? People used to call it in a lean or maybe hey, the bare minimum, whatever we can, right? Then over a period of time, I think we came up with all these new terminology also, right? But that's okay. And the MMP, there may be one more also, right? I think MVP, MMP, and there is one more.
MMF, MMF.
Right. There are few.
Oh, the
There
same
are
thing.
few.
So MMP is more of a bundle of MMF.
Right. Right.
And I think this concept was famous by that lean startup book author Eric Rick, MVP. Yeah. So he was
Eric
strong
Rice.
advocate, and I think most of the big companies follow that approach. That's why they liked it, the MVP approach.
Right. And Sachin is right. It's not about maybe delivering the best feature, but even what Eric did was he delivered on a buggy product.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. His idea was just to validate the assumption.
Yep.
That was all. And he said that there were so many issues, people were sitting on us, but still he continued. But that's good. That's good.
And I think I have one question also. Maybe I don't know whether it's related to MVP, MMP, or something. So I think many of us is watching that IPL on Geo Cinema, right? So they giving it for free. That is fine. But now what they started is any of the sim, and then they started collecting their information. For example, what is your age and all the stuff. Now once you complete, say my age is like 40 to 45 years, and then I start continue watching the match. After 2 days, they are now asking, okay, are you doing some online shopping? Right? What is your age group, online shopping, and other questions also. So when I try to search on the Google, I get a very interesting response from one of the user. They said that they want to customize the ad based on your age and your experience. For example, I'm a shopping freak person and age of 20 to 25, so that they can display that kind of ads actually during the break. I don't know whether it is fit into this criteria, just a curiosity from my side, whether it's maybe MMP or MMP or that what they're trying to achieve, or what is their target actually.
It's more of personalization,
Yeah,
Arvind.
yeah.
So it is. So this practice is primarily um, a result of increasing the reach and relevance of the product which they are creating. So when we have to increase the reach and relevance, they are being driven by various factors, and personalization is one of them, which helps them to know their user better and and help them to increase the screen time of the user so they could personalize their product accordingly.
That's true.
Again,
That's true.
nothing is free, as always Sanjay says
That
that.
okay. So there is nothing free in this world, right? If you
Yeah,
are getting something for free, which means you are the
you are the
product.
product. Yeah, exactly.
They are using you.
In fact, just to add on that, again, I'm not 100% how much of that is truth, but things are grown so much. I mean, from technology front, that even if you are not, typing in or searching for something, but say, just casually talking, say in your home with, your family member about something. Say, okay, let's buy, say, new pair of shoes. You might get an advertisement, next time you look at the for
Right.
screen.
Especially on Gmail actually, because you have
Glo-
given the permission of your mic, or whatever
Yeah,
the
your
instrument you are
microphone is
using.
always.
Yeah.
So we never know till what extent they are listening. Yeah.
Good. Sunil, Monica, anything from you both?
Just one thing, what Dinesh has said. Yes, since I belong to a media industry, I was in conversation with one of the digital guy, who was, they flash up ads and advertisements and all those stuff on. They definitely look out for the data. So based on the data, like age and their interests, the user particularly interest. So they sometimes we would see that some particular advertisement they flashes to us, right? So once they have the data, they get a better pulse of the public. They get a better pulse of their customer, right? So yes, definitely this data helps to them in validating their things. Yes, true.
Yep. Good. Anyone has anything else? Oh. Good. So thanks a lot, Sachin. It
Thank you,
was
Sanjay.
really,
Yeah,
it was really
thanks
nice.
a lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
One.
thanks a lot, Sachin. It was really a nice explanation.
Yep, yep. It was
Mhm.
good, good. And just to the same thing for those. I think you have registered using that 100 rupees for the meetup, right? I think I've mentioned it last time also. So nothing to worry. All those 100 rupees will be going to a charity, right? So and thanks a lot for that paying for that novel cause. So we will show you the what you say receipt
And
or
thank you, Sanjay sir, for organizing this webinar. 100 rupees doesn't matter. The knowledge is matter.
All right. No, that's true. That's true.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll talk to Dinesh. Well, it was like to be very honest, I was not like, I attended it for the first time, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I did not knew that there are regular meetups happening and some things are being
Mhm.
discussed. So
We have just started with Sachin. I think so. We stopped in between. So we said that me and Sachin were and Dinesh were discussing how about maybe doing every alternate week, and maybe let's pick up any topic, right? And we don't want to make it in a presentation or more formal. Let's have a more discussion, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to have 50 people in it. Maybe if just 6, 7, 10 is good enough, right? And 1 hour in every alternate week, I think we should be able to spend, right? Right. And whomsoever is available.
And I think last time Pranshu was there and other people, and we really enjoy last. We could not record it, but we really enjoyed that the
But
servant leadership.
sometime I miss the in-person meetups.
We will have for sure. We will have for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now, Sanjay sir, I'm living in Noida, so for me it would be, it wouldn't be possible to come in Gurgaon. So
All right. No, I can understand.
online is perfect for me.
Like, good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, once again.
Yeah,
thank
thank
so
you.
much for your time, guys.
Bye.
Have a great evening.
Thank you so
Bye.
much,
Bye.
Sachin.
Thank you
Thank you
so
much so much, guys. Bye bye.
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 Yes.
Thanks a lot, Sachin. Thank